my news bulletin today. Israel may cut power to Gaza. Hamas trade fire in Gaza as Palestinians go on strike. Israel's intelligence minister warned Tuesday that power to the Gaza Strip could soon be cut off as the country's military geared up for an intensive night of additional airstrikes against the region's terror tunnels. Fire and smoke rise above buildings in Gaza City as Israeli warplanes target a governmental building. Pro-Palestine protesters shut down traffic outside Israeli consulate in NYC. Netanyahu rejects Biden demand for significant de-escalation in Gaza. Car trouble, Biden ripped for joking about running over reporter. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel has not ruled out conquering Gaza. Israeli aircraft carried out a new wave of airstrikes against targets in the Gaza Strip on Tuesday as militants fired rockets at the Jewish state, targeting the northern border with projectiles and a drone which the military said may have been launched from a neighboring country. The Israeli strikes leveled a 6-story building that housed libraries and educational centers belonging to the Islamic University, leaving behind a massive mound of debris. There were no reports of casualties after the Israel Defense Forces warned the building's residents ahead of time, sending them fleeing into the pre-dawn darkness. The whole street started running, then destruction, an earthquake, said Jamal Hers-Allah, a resident of the area. This whole area was shaking. The latest round of hostilities came as general strikes were held Tuesday in East Jerusalem, Arab towns within Israel and in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, with posts on social media urging solidarity from the sea to the river, according to Reuters. Rockets are launched towards Israel from the southern Gaza Strip. Brig Gen. Haydeh Zilberman, the IDF's chief spokesman, said the military was continuing to operate in Gaza in accordance with a target list for the next 24 hours. The IDF is not talking about a ceasefire. We're focused on the firing, he told Army Radio. Palestinians look at an unexploded bomb dropped by an Israeli F-16 warplane. Meanwhile, Israel also came under attack along its border with Lebanon, from where 6 rockets were fired but apparently fell short of the border, the Times of Israel reported. The IDF, which ordered several communities within 2.5 miles of the border to open bomb shelters, responded with artillery fire. No injuries were reported. The destroyed Kahale building, which housed a print shop and university accessories and book storage facility for educational institutes in Gaza. A Lebanese military source confirmed to Agence France Presse that several Grad-type rockets had been fired from the Shabaa Farms area in southern Lebanon. Zilberman said the IDF believes a small Palestinian faction, not the Hezbollah terror group, was responsible for the attack. Palestinians look for salvageable items amid the rubble of the Kahale building. The United Nations peacekeeping force in the area, UNIFIL, said Tuesday that the border was now calm. UNIFIL detected firing of rockets from the general area of Rashaya al-Fukr north of Kfar Chuba in Lebanon, UNIFIL said in a tweet. A Palestinian man holds books he picked up from amid the rubble of the Kahale building. In another incident, Israeli forces shot down a drone approaching the country from Jordan early Tuesday. In what appeared to be the 7th such attack since the beginning of hostilities between Israel and Hamas on May 10. Earlier this morning, a drone approaching the Israeli border in the Emek Hamayanot area was intercepted after being monitored by the Israeli Air Force. The drone fragments were collected by security forces, the IDF said in a statement, according to Haaretz. Staff members of the Qatari Red Crescent stand in front of a damaged building which housed their offices in Gaza City. The IDF said it examining the origins of the drone, and whether it came from Syria or Jordan, according to the news outlet. The military has reported several drone launches by Hamas during the latest fighting, including an explosives-laden one that was downed by the IDF and fell on the launch squad in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, killing 2 militants. An Israeli family sits inside a bomb shelter in the southern city of Ashkelon. At least 212 Palestinians have been killed during more than a week of Israeli airstrikes, including 61 children and 36 women, with more than 1,400 people wounded, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. On the Israeli said, 9 civilians, including a 5-year-old boy, and a soldier have been killed. Palestinian workers clean up the rubble and attempt to repair infrastructures damaged in Israeli air raids. In the past 12 hours, 90 rockets were launched from Gaza at Israel, according to the IDF. 20 of those failed to make it across the border. The IDF said it continued attacking Hamas targets overnight, including the homes of the terror group's commanders and 5 headquarters. It also carried out 65 strikes on militant tunnel throughout the Gaza Strip. An Israeli artillery unit fires toward targets in Gaza Strip. In addition, at least 150 Hamas and Islamic Jihad commanders have been killed since the conflict erupted last week, the military said. The Israeli aircraft carried out the strikes as the militants in Gaza appeared to temporarily pause the rockets' attacks until alarms sounded in the town of Netanyahu, the Times of Israel reported. There were no immediate reports of casualties. A Palestinian man looks at his damaged bedroom following early morning Israeli airstrikes. Hamas said the attack on the community was in response to Zionist aggression, an apparent reference to the overnight strikes. Zilberman said the IDF did not know the reason behind the lull in rocket fire, but was continuing with its campaign against Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Smoke and flames are seen following an Israeli airstrike. He said the overnight strike was the fourth in a series of bombardments on Hamas' underground tunnel network, which the IDF dubbed the Metro. The attack destroyed about 9 miles of underground tunnels in Gaza City and Khan Yunis, Zilberman said. About 62 miles of tunnel had already been bombed in Indiana the previous 3 raids, IDF spokesman LTCOL Jonathan Conricus said Monday. Smoke rises following an Israeli airstrike on a building in Gaza. Tuesday's airstrike was conducted with some 60 jets, dropping over 100 bombs on about 65 targets over roughly 30 minutes, according to Zilberman. Violent confrontations between Israeli security forces and Palestinians in Jerusalem have led to the heaviest offensive in years. He said the purpose of all the strikes was to convince Hamas and its operatives that its subterranean infrastructure was no longer safe and cannot be trusted, the news outlet reported. Zilberman added that the IDF also targeted several underground multi-barreled rocket launchers, destroying at least 10, including 6 that were aimed at the Tel Aviv area. Israeli soldiers carry the body of a Palestinian man who was shot dead during an attempted attack in Hebron. In another development Tuesday, the UN welcomed an Israeli decision to open the Kerem Shalom crossing to allow aid into Gaza, and urged the opening of a second location to allow humanitarian workers inside, AFP reported. We very much welcome the Israeli authorities' opening of Kerem Shalom crossing for essential humanitarian supplies, Jens Laerke, a spokesman for the UN humanitarian agency OCHA, told reporters in Geneva. Intelligence Minister Eli Cohen told Israel's Channel 20 that he favored shutting down electricity to Gaza as the worst conflict in years stretched into its 9th day. I think the next thing we should do, and I'll raise this in the cabinet, is to shut off electricity in Gaza, he said in Hebrew, according to a video clip posted on Twitter. Cohen added, there was no discussion about a ceasefire in the cabinet. The international pressure is increasing but we owe it to our citizens, he said. The power supply to Gaza has already been cut by more than half after 6 of 10 power lines were destroyed by Israeli strikes. On Sunday, The Guardian reported that the power supply to Gaza had already been cut by more than half after 6 of 10 power lines were destroyed by Israeli strikes. There are some border areas completely cut off from electricity, Mohammed Thabet, a spokesperson for the Gaza Electricity Distribution CO, told the British news outlet. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces said it had an intensive night ahead of us Tuesday amid planning for aerial attacks on new locations of Gaza's sprawling tunnel network. According to the Jerusalem Post, spokesperson Haidai Zilberman said the bombardment would target sections of tunnels that weren't hit during 4 previous nights of air assaults. Israel has accused the Hamas terror group of using the tunnels to move munitions and launch attacks against the Jewish state.